YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after Sunday's action in NFL Week 2. I'm giving you my takeaways to every single game, what impressed me, maybe some concerns we have. Talk about who maybe fooled us, lied to us in Week 1. Tends to happen a lot, so we'll break it all down. We do this every Monday. If you're looking for Thursday's recap, it's got its own video. It's already up. Week 3 right around the corner. Our Week 3 content starts on Tuesday. Follow our Twitter for my thoughts on that Monday night game, which is tonight. Do that for every game. Got all my thoughts. So it's a good follow there. A lot going on. You can join our Picks League, Fan Voter League. A lot going on. Patreon. Link down below. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We got that full NFL coverage here. We're adding more, too. More is on the way. So join us for that. Be much appreciated. Here's our Twitter, @GirlsNFL. A lot of updates on injuries. Unfortunately, a lot of injuries. But a lot of these things, for the most part, kind of seem to be not as major as we once thought, maybe from these weekend's games. But, yeah, make sure you follow that Twitter link down below. First game we're talking about, Bengals Bears. Ended up being a close game, but the Bears controlled this game the whole way. If you watch the game, you obviously know what I'm talking about. Bengals had a shot. They came back in the game. It was a good job fighting back, even after Joe Burrow ended up having 3 interceptions. One was pressure was in his face, was tipped. Still not a positive play at all for Joe Burrow, but that's kind of how it went down. And they did try to fight back there. T. Higgins fumbled the ball as well. So it was a little bit of a sloppy game for the Bengals. So that'd be a reason why they lost. But the Bears defense stepped up, and that is a big reason why the Bears won, because that defense struggled against the Rams in Week 1, and it was some concern. And Week 1's usually got some weird things, knocking the rust off. Week 2, they step it up, make some big-time plays. Roquan Smith was all over the field. On that tipped interception, too, I don't think Keem Hicks gets the credit on that, but he really collapsed the pocket instantly. So I look out for those types of plays that kind of created the play. So defense definitely stepped back up. Jalen Johnson tightened coverage. Eddie Jackson forced a fumble. On T. Higgins, we talked about it. So the defense kind of back to playing Bears defense. We'll see that continues. Which one we going to get moving forward probably depends on the situation, the opponent. Andy Dalton had a pretty good start to this game. They go and get a touchdown to Allen Robinson pretty early to get things going. Then he gets hurt. He's in the locker room. He comes back. He's in the locker room. So it doesn't sound like a major injury, but then Justin Fields is in the game, of course. And kind of tough for him, kind of getting thrown in there. You got to credit the Bengals defense. I thought the Bengals defense, for the most part, did a pretty good job, though. Especially, it's tough on Justin Fields, kind of just getting thrown in there. All right, you're the starter for this. Well, not the starter, but you're the guy for this game. It's not just situational things. That's pretty tough on a rookie quarterback. But at the same time, the Bengals got to adjust. It's a whole different ball game. Justin Fields in there, so I will credit the Bengals there. Their defense. I think their defensive line is a little better than given credit for, so we'll see how it continues here. But they had Fields a little bit. He can run. You see the playmaking ability. He had some big time throws. A couple were dropped too, so you see the playmaking ability. Definitely going to be a good quarterback, but a little sloppy in this game. Not really a big surprise, and it's also really not a big surprise that Nagy still wants, if healthy, Andy Dalton to be the starter, because it's not a surprise because Andy Dalton was kind of his guy the whole time. And was there enough in this game to kind of change his mind? No. It was a tough situation for Fields. But he did have. I think about that fumble he had, that strip sack. It looked like the way that ball hit the ground, it looked like it was gonna be scooped up for 6 for the Bengals. I kind of go back, if the Bengals executed that and the Bears ended up falling on it, Justin Fields actually ends up falling on it. The Bengals scooped and scored that. I think we might have a whole different ball game. And then Fields throws a bad interception, and that kind of kept when the game should have been over instead of. A big time win for the Bears. Ends up being close, gets a little scary. So that's tough on him. But he was kind of thrown into a tough situation. Had some drops from his receivers. Defense stepped up. That's kind of the name of the game here. Burrow had some bad interceptions that kind of kept it out of it. Again, the T. Higgins fumble. Mixon ran pretty well, very well last week. He was bouncing a lot of carries outside last week, and that looked good. I don't know, sometimes the Bears wouldn't allow him to bounce it out, but sometimes he just wasn't. So, because he's definitely better on the outside. So, he didn't have a bad game whatsoever, but he's more of an outside guy than an inside guy. So I kind of question that a little bit, but it's just too many mistakes, and that'll be the difference in that game. The Bears bounced back here. Again, it didn't really need to be this close. The Bears controlled most of the game. Moving on to the next game here. Texans and Browns. And I guess I'll say what we're all thinking here is, and we can go even more into it, but if Tyrod Taylor didn't get hurt, what would have happened in this game? Realistically, the Texans could have won the game. I'm not going to sit here and say they should have won the game, and I'll get into that in a second, but or they would have, I should say. Nobody really could say they for sure would have won the game. You definitely could say they could have, and I'll just get into it right now. And I think what you if you actually watch the game, you look at what happened in the fourth quarter. The Browns did what they do best, and that's just more than running. They ran the football, but it's more than that. They want to control the game. They want to give you limited opportunities. In the fourth quarter, they didn't really give the Texans a shot to play offense with their offense. That's the Browns football. They were throwing the ball a little more early on. Baker was all right. Tough guy, came back with the injury, ended up running a touchdown. He had a bad interception, but in that he tried to make a tackle. That's where the injury came from. But they kind of went back to playing Browns football, and they controlled that fourth quarter. Didn't even give the Texans a shot. So you could have said that, the game definitely went differently. The Texans could have been winning. I don't think if they were winning, it wouldn't have been by a lot if they were winning, if Tyrod Taylor was in there. But the more and more I think about it, the Browns won that game because of the way they controlled the fourth quarter and executed while controlling the clock in the fourth quarter. So with that being said, you definitely can make a pretty good case that the Browns still would have held on to the game if Tyrod Taylor would have remained in. But who knows? It's just not fair to say for sure that team wins the game with that situation. But I really like what I'm seeing from the Texans. The Texans are a lot better. It's only week 2. Teams fool us early, especially when there's limited games. It's a whole new Texans team, so there is a limited game plan. So I don't want to overreact too much. But they look good. They look like a lot better football team than we thought. I like the play calling, the play designs, in general, the playbook and the system look pretty good. That slip screen to Lindsey, everyone's just running the same old slip screen. Quarterback gets it. Kind of tails off the one side and then dumps it off the other side. It's the same old shit, it's just getting too predictable. They get pretty creative with it, and I think they use their multiple running back system pretty well. I think they take advantage of that pretty well, throw off defenses. And Tyrod Taylor looks good. I said it on Twitter. It's a great time for him to get that starting gig. I mean, we saw him get the starting gig in the past, but it's a great time for him to get that with this team because it's an era of the mobile, not just the mobile quarterback, but the quarterback that can escape. And he can do that, and he does it pretty. It's pretty too. He does it well, and he can throw, very on-the-road thrower, and obviously can run after he escapes the pressure. So the Texans look pretty good defensively. It just feels like they got a lot of high motor guys that are good at making plays. Justin Reed was looking good. Yeah, they had more than just Tyrod Taylor go down in this game too throughout the game. So it's a tough one for the Texans. It's a tough loss because if guys didn't get hurt, you could definitely say we could be 2-0. It's definitely, I can't really argue with that. I can make my case, for argue both sides like I do. But it's definitely okay to think that you could be 2-0. So my point is that it's a tough loss because of that. Same time, there's some positives to take away. This team's supposed to be bad this year. We're not supposed to win the Super Bowl. They're looking pretty good. Coaching staff looks pretty good. So there's some things to be positive about here. Tough that they got to play on Thursday night when Tyrod Taylor's injury's up in the air a little bit. Guy just can't really catch a break. Davis Mills wasn't awful, but wasn't at all, but wasn't good, obviously. So we'll see what happens on Thursday night there. The Browns, not a little bit sloppy start too. Kind of going back to the beginning of the game, which is a big game changer. The Texans come out and force the 3-and-out. They actually got pressure on Baker Mayfield. I think they got a sack on him. And nobody does that really with the Browns offensive line. So, that was impressive. They forced a punt, and then we have a mistake on special teams. It puts the Browns in prime situation. The Texans made them work for it, too, to get that touchdown. Janovich, the fullback, got the touchdown. And that was a pretty good game. So there's a lot of game changers that went towards the Browns. So the Browns absolutely have to win this game. They did it. So you can't really be like applaud them for those things, but I do applaud them how they handle the fourth quarter. That's just Browns football. I like how they mix it up too. They always want to start the game like that. They bring it, unleash it in the fourth quarter. They control the game. That's the dream for a lot of teams, the way they did that, So I do like that. But there's a lot of things that could have went more Texans' way. They're unlucky in this game. And then you look at the Browns' defense. Wasn't really thrilled with the defense. Again, they caught a break. Tyrod Taylor got hurt. It's tough to fully okay, this defense is still not so hot. You can't really do that because they got a lot of new faces. It's a work in progress. It's only week 2. So not predicting the future with that, but there's some things they could work on. Secondary, I think guys missing assignments mainly. They spent so much money or put so much value because you draft a guy in the first round as well on top of the money. You put so much in that secondary, you wish it could be a little better, but it's still, work in progress, rightfully so. More of my problem is they don't really have a bunch of unique ways to generate pressure. It still kind of feels like, all right, Myles Garrett, you're going to have to get in there a lot. That's kind of what it feels like. We'll see if they get a little more creative, help out the secondary a little more perhaps. Maybe you could use a little more blitzing factor there from the defense. It's early. Coaching's still getting going, understanding, getting the feet wet a little bit, So the Browns could be 2-0. They're 1-1. You probably could say they could have won last game. They could have lost this game. It's good coming off a win in week 2. Because week 1 does. You can't have any takeaways really for the rest of the year off week 1. Week 2, you start to kind of get those. Next, Rams and Colts. I had a feeling this would be a squeaker. It would be a tight game. It was a pretty wild game, kind of. I was going to say back and forth. Not so much. Maybe late it was. Then you factor in the Colts were missing Braden Smith, which was a surprise to me. And I thought Rhodes would come back, but it was still kind of up in the air, and he didn't play. So kind of given that, the Colts could have won that. There's a lot to go over with this game. The Colts could have won this game. There was a lot of things that, it's kind of the same thing, and now I think about it, it's kind of the same thing as the Bills game in the playoffs last year. The game didn't really quite go the same. There was a lot more yardage, points, offense in that game. But I say that because what was everyone's take? What was my take at least then? They outplayed the Bills in that playoff game. I thought it was a very well-coached game. I thought they made the only thing I had in the coaching staff was who they had in certain situations. Either they had the wrong running backs, mainly looking at that. But the well-coached game, the coaching staff put them in position in the offensive line, put them in position to win the playoff game. They could not execute in the big moments. They didn't really have key players. It felt like they didn't have key players because they weren't showing up in the big moments. They needed to take over guys. They needed the sure thing guys to take over, mainly in red zone moments. And I thought that was the same exact story in this game. They get in the red zone. The first time it was, what did they have? 1st and goal from the 1. They go Taylor 3 times in a row. There isn't a hole, but in that situation, you absolutely have to try to create your own hole. Taylor's a pretty strong dude, too. Just get in there. You jump the pile. It's just a little bit too much. Okay, where's the hole? You cannot do that in short yards, especially on the red zone. 3 times in a row. Not fully on him, but, and that's kind of going back to last year where it really felt like Nyheim Hines was the better option in the red zone. Just the better option, plain and simple. And Taylor has struggled through 2 weeks, too, and they kind of saw that at times last year, and then all of a sudden you get going. It feels like, he's the guy if you can create that hole. Tough to predict if the hole will be there. If there isn't a hole, there's definitely better options on the team. So the other guys definitely need more options here. And then Carson Wentz takes a sack on 4th down. Interception's better than taking a sack, so throw it up. And remember my questions last week. I had big questions, not doubts, just questions in general, because the Colts were allowing, there was more sacks last week than we're used to with the Colts. And the question was, because the offensive line looks a little different, is it more on the offensive line or is it more on Carson Wentz? Because Carson Wentz kind of, where he's been, the sacks kind of been on him in the past. So it's kind of a question because it was a little bit of a split decision there. And this week, again, you see a little bit of both, but you start to realize it's definitely more on Carson Wentz. Taking 4th down sacks, holding onto the ball, it's way too long, stepping up in the pocket too early in reps when there is some pressure there, and not stepping up in the pocket when he should. So it's not a surprise because he did it in the past. And he did make some good throws in this game. Don't get me wrong. I like that he plays a little bit of that hero ball, which I respect a little bit. There's times where he can't do it, but he has a lot of confidence. I like that. He made some tight window throws again and brought the team back in the game. So I do like that. But the situations where he's taking sacks and then I mentioned I want Hines in on red zone. They finally bring him in. They swing him out. He is wide open. Walk-in touchdown. And Wentz kind of insists on the first option. So that is the call. It's the first option. So it's not one. Yeah, it's. I was gonna say it's not 100% on him, but nobody made him flick it through traffic. Nowhere near Jack Doyle as well, and he tried to do that a couple other times. He was fortunate didn't get turned over there. So, So some decisions like that, not ideal. So backing up, exactly what we thought last year. The execution in the big moments is just not there. Nobody is stepping up in those moments. I think the coaching staff, minus what the personnel is, maybe running back position really is just it. I think somebody needs to step up. I thought Pittman stepped up in moments. Had a pretty productive game. There was one throw he bailed out Wentz on, but just executing those moments. But given the sloppiness, given Braden Smith was out, Xavier Rhodes was out, they could have won this game. And Carson Wentz got hurt. They figured they had a shot. More injuries for Carson Wentz, both ankles. Figured they had a shot there. Eason throws a pick, so that was unfortunate. Given all that sloppiness, all of that mess, the Colts could have won that game. So maybe there is some positive in there that, if we just execute a little better, it's still a question for them and stay healthy. We're going to win these games against big-time teams. So that kind of is the positive there. But Carson Wentz hurt again. Well, it's a big game against Titans next week. We'll see what happens there. So a lot of things didn't go the Colts' way, like I said, but then they had a bad mistake from the Rams on that botched punt situation. So that was something that did, one thing that did go their way at least there. So the Rams, maybe would have taken care of business a little easier if that didn't happen. So that's not something I expect to happen every week. Red zone defense for the Rams deserves some credit, but you're able to, I talked about it last week against the Bears, they are able to move the ball down the field. They kind of just clutch up in the right moments. So I do think you can move the ball better on this Rams defense compared to last year. I do think so. They're giving up more separation. The pressure was pretty solid. I guess when the quarterback decisions makes it a little easier, but some interior pressure was good. I like that. It's kind of a McVay offense. When you absolutely need to score, if you need to go down there and score, remember the Colts took that lead off that special teams miscue there. They went down and scored. Great drive for Stafford, reading coverages, knowing when it's cover two, knowing when it's man coverage, and exposing that. He had a bad interception. He'll do that once in a while. But when they absolutely needed to score, they go and do that. So I do like that. They ran the ball pretty effectively. Darrell Henderson goes down, but Sony Michel looks good. Colts run defense hasn't looked like them. Very good, top tier last year. Hasn't really looked like them so far. Only 2 games. The Rams executed when needed. They had some help, but they clutched up in the red zone. They had some help from the Colts, but and again, if it wasn't for that, it's kind of back and forth. It wasn't for that special teams mistake, they probably would have put the game away. But the Rams start 2-0, the Colts 0-2. Wentz is injured. It's a big game against Titans this week, so we'll monitor that. We'll see what happens with that. But the clutch players, the big time players step up when needed on defense too. We talk about offense for the Rams. Look at Ramsey. And Aaron Donald, the big names, they step up at the right moments too. So that's kind of the story of the Rams there. Bills and Dolphins. Yeah, I'm calling for the Bills to run the damn football more. And they start the game off with a Devin Singletary run. He breaks loose for a 40-whatever yard touchdown or whatever the hell it was, and he's gone, touchdown. And it's just all downhill for the Dolphins. Then Tua gets hurt. Doesn't seem to be that major, so he should be back. They have a muff punt in there. They got in the red zone. It's like, it's disastrous right now. I think it was before the muff punt, but it's a little disastrous right now. Hey, we're actually still in this game. We're in the red zone, and they have a mistake by the running back there. They need a back. They needed a better back, that's for sure. So it just wasn't the Dolphins game. It kind of felt like early in the game where it kind of needed to be over for them. Didn't feel like they were coming back winning that game. A dominant win for the Bills, 35-0. They clutched up in the right moments. Still, that's kind of the good and the bad. Josh Allen really didn't play that well again. Josh Allen, here's what it is. Josh Allen didn't play his game for the second week straight. That's not good, but they still won 35-0. So that they can get Josh Allen on his game, it wasn't close, and it ain't close, So it's kind of the good and the bad there. But yeah, defenses have given Allen some problems. There was an underthrow. I think it was meant for Diggs. Could be wrong. There was an underthrow at one point. You just don't see Josh Allen. He was lucky he wasn't picked. Xavier Howard pick was just a Xavier Howard. It was a hell of a play. But an underthrow downfield that you just don't see Josh Allen underthrow. So plays like that where it's like, maybe knocking rust off, perhaps. I don't know. He looked like himself that last week of preseason. It is preseason, but so that's why I don't know if rust is an excuse there. But defense clutched up, looked good. I thought Epenesa's getting better, rushing off the edge. Just, I don't know what his stats look like, but I mean, just reps, beating tackles. And that guy, Dolphins offensive line, a bit of a mess. They kind of been, do we fix it here? Do we fix it there? We got these young guys that are maybe a question. Kind of been all over the place. It does not look good right now at all. And it's against a team that they're really not known for their pass rush either. It's a pretty damn good defense. It looked good last week as well. So a lot of problems right now with the Dolphins. It's a very good thing they won in week 1. They pulled that one off. Let's hope Tua's healthy. Hopefully Will Fuller gets back too. So there's a lot of messy things, but it definitely could get better. This game really didn't need to, full strength, non kind of fluky game. The Dolphins have a chance in this game, even though it didn't look like it, So I did pick the Bills to win, so it's not like I think the Dolphins will win if things don't really go south like that, but they have a shot in the game. I still want to see more from Josh Allen. I mean, I said they ran Singletary. It worked. They probably could have ran the guy a little more, to be honest. You're winning the entire game. They probably could have, ran the ball in general a bit more, so they're still a little hesitant there. But it's a win the Bills needed. Let's see if Allen can kind of get back to playing Josh Allen football. Dolphins, it's just a sloppy game. It's just kind of one of those where it's like, yeah, you do worry about offensive line, I guess, moving forward. You hope Tua stays healthy. You worry about the running back group a little bit. But it's one of those games where it's just so disastrous and fluky from the start. You don't really just expect that to happen, hopefully never again. So it's not too many major takeaways or predictions from this game going forward with the Dolphins, but we just hope things don't stay south, don't go south like this. Patriots Jets, not a whole lot of action, unless if you consider Zach Wilson throwing interceptions action. Yeah, I guess there was some action. He threw 4 interceptions in this game, and I'm not one of those people that are like, okay, he's a bust. Not at all like that. Yeah, but I will say, quarterbacks really, it's really tough for them to come back from a game like that. I will say that. Not doubting him. It's a different era. It's a different type of quarterback. He struggled early in his career at BYU as well, and he really made himself to something, not by mistake. So it's definitely not a guy I want to doubt whatsoever. You trust the process, you trust the prospect evaluation, but you don't see like good quarterbacks, have those types of games. I think every time a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback has that, everyone goes, "Oh, look at Peyton Manning." And it's just like the 1 out of a million situations where that actually happened, and everyone thinks their guy's gonna be Peyton Manning. So I don't think that's fair to look at that, but it's also not fair to say, he's done. It's absolutely not fair. But it's just not something. It's something that he kind of created an obstacle for himself. And that last interception it gets to me. It was very bad. The 4th one, it's just the way he threw that was like, it was almost like Mahomes escaping pressure. He has a second left to throw it. He has no choice but to make an awkward throw, and Mahomes could actually make that throw. Zach Wilson did that from the pocket awkwardly with his back foot, off bounce. No pressure on him whatsoever, and just no receiver in sight, just directly to the defense. So, you don't really see the great quarterbacks, even when they're up and coming, kind of make those plays. So, it's a pretty tough go for him. It's a pretty tough go. You wouldn't really realize it, but the Jets defense played pretty well. It was kind of the same thing last week, too. They played pretty well, and they're missing guys, and they're still in somewhere in that rebuild process where there's some holes still, and on top of them missing guys, and it kind of just shows that they're very well coached. Because I thought the defense played pretty well. The Patriots didn't, all those interceptions, you think they would have scored 50 points. They didn't really fully execute well, and I thought it was because the Jets defense was executing actually well, despite losing 25-6. So that's the good sign there for the Jets, if there is one. J.C. Jackson, he just gets his hands on the ball. That's what he does. They got 4 interceptions, but he continues to do that. So that's great. Josh Uche, thought he was a raw prospect last year because, what is he? Is he off the ball? Is he an edge rusher? We talked about it, and now second year learning from Belichick, he's kind of got his position there and he's rolling, he's looking good. So a lot of bright spots of the defense. Damian Harris looked solid. Mac Jones was all right. It kind of feels like let's hope this is the case. Maybe it kind of feels like the Patriots aren't really fully unleashing them yet. When they almost feels like it's a bad thing. I feel like they can. They can. But they had, rookie quarterback. We're in control of this game. I don't really blame them too much. Kind of like last week. They didn't really control the game last week. I don't really blame them for how they handle it. Kind of just get the job done, do enough. So I guess the good news is maybe they can just unleash him, further in the season because he's capable. And, and they could have more on offense then. But, yeah, offense should be executing a little more, given what the defense is helping them with, So, but, yeah, some bright spots in the defense. It's a tough one for Zach Wilson. Wasn't under pressure as much as last week, I thought. I mean, there was pressure, but he definitely deserves some blame. I don't know if anyone's really making excuses. I haven't seen any, but people tend to make excuses for the rookie quarterback. It's just a bad game. Let's move on. Let's not come up with stuff here. And I don't think anyone's doing that. A lot of people do that though. Again, Patriots could execute a little more offensively, kind of same story as last week. But it's a good win. They could be 2-0. They went out there and got the win though. Next game, 49ers and the Eagles. Man, this was a pretty wild game. Pretty kind of boring. A game that could have went either way. I'll actually say it, and I'm going to give the Niners credit here though, because they went out there and won the game. They deserve credit. The defense started to tighten up. Defense played very well. It's definitely a different called defense than it was in the past. Different defense coordinator. So. Makes sense that they clutched up right moments, red zone. They got pressure on Hurts at the right moments, and they went out there and ended up winning this game and clutched up in the end. But I'm going to say what maybe other people are saying or thinking. I think if Jalen Reagor doesn't step out of bounds and that touchdown stands as a touchdown, it's a whole different ballgame. The Eagles might win the game. The Eagles outplayed the 49ers in the first half. Now, I picked the 49ers to win. It didn't really go down quite like I thought it would, though. Eagles could have won this game. Reagor can't step out of bounds there. Reagor is so explosive, so athletic. You can give him a screen pass. He can burn somebody deep. He can run after the catch. He can return. But, man, there's some problems. The route running. And you kind of worry about the route running because TCU stuck him on the right side of the field, and he either ran a end around, a screen pass. He would line up on the left side and take an end around. He'd end up back on the right side. But he either take a screen pass from the right side or just run a go from the right side. So it doesn't mean he can't run routes, but you question it because we haven't seen him run routes. And he hasn't really been able to run your typical comebacks, back shoulders, not well at all, actually. And then he's running out even on the go where you expect him to make the play. He made the play, but he stepped out first. It just can't happen. It just can't happen. So it's just such an athletic. I mean, he's a ball player, but from little things, it just feels like more of a miss than it already was. So for the Eagles, I was surprised Smith was a little non-existent. It's something we had to kind of go back and see. Was Hurts not seeing him? If you look at the stats, you probably be down on Hurts in this game. I'm not going to get down on Hurts. I think he's ahead of schedule. I like what I see from him. He's not. He needs to work against under pressure. He was good under pressure last week, not a whole lot of it. But the Niners blitzed him. I thought they threw him off a little bit. But he led the team in rushing. He missed a lot of deep balls, but I thought he gave his receivers a shot to win though, and he did. He threw a touchdown pass to Reagor, but the guy stepped out, not on Hurts. So I thought he gave his receivers shots. It's not a great game from Hurts. It's if you're a stat watcher, you probably think it's on Hurts. It is not on Jalen Hurts here, so I'm not worried about him. They probably could have ran the ball a little more because they were in the game, sort of. They outplayed the Niners in the first half. The decision to go on fourth down, I didn't like, because they were playing great defense. They were holding the Niners, just take the points. I think it shifted momentum a bit. So I wasn't really a fan of that. I do think that affected the game. Reagor stepping out, and then that kind of affected the game. And the Niners starting to pick it up a little bit. Eagles' defense has been better than expected. Brandon Graham ended up getting hurt. I shouldn't say luckily in that same sentence, but the Eagles probably have the best rotation in football, debatably, but that's kind of my take. So I guess that helps ease the pain a little bit. I guess the best way to put it. But Brandon Graham going down for season. Major blow. But, the Eagles' defenses looked pretty solid. The offense should have done a little more. They definitely could have done a little more. 49ers stepping up. What I've been saying, though, for the 49ers, right before the season, during the offseason, right before the season, they need another receiver really bad, and they still really do. It's Deebo Samuel, go out and carry us. That's really what it is here. So that's tough. Injuries continue to be a tough thing. Both these teams, but mainly the Niners. Did the whole running back group get hurt? I mean, I think the entire thing got hurt. So I don't know what the hell they're doing over there, but guys can't be dropping down this often. But again, the 49ers clutched up in this game. Garoppolo didn't do a whole bunch. Receivers didn't really help him, minus Deebo Samuel. Garoppolo is tough. He's a tough dude. He showed it in this game. The way he puts his head down and runs, in that 4th and 1, or we see him do it, in the end zone as well. He had a throw in this game. Again, stat watchers, Garoppolo, prior to them, Garoppolo didn't play. He played terrible. It's not the case. He had maybe in the moment of the game, it was a tight window throw to Deebo Samuel. Tight, real tight, and he got it on the money. Deebo Samuel, good job catching that. It's hard to catch the ones in traffic. And then he got loose, what he does best after the catch. To me, that was the play of the game that really, at the end of the day, I think won the 49ers the game. So, again, both these quarterbacks for the stats look like they were pretty bad, but I don't think it was the case. So, Eagles could be 2-0 right now. I still like where they're heading. 49ers pull it off there. Not pretty, though, overall. Next game, Raiders-Steelers. The Raiders are looking good. I feel like we say this every year to start the year, though. I feel like we're saying Derek Carr's an MVP guy. At least he's a top 10 quarterback. That's at worst. Raiders look like a sure thing playoff team. We say it every year. We fall for it every year. So I'm kind of hitting myself a little bit. Don't fall for it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it feels kind of different. I could look like an idiot saying that. We know Raiders fans are saying that. But all of us non-Raiders fans, from a neutral party, I think we'll be a little hesitant to jump on board, but it does feel like a different atmosphere. I think it starts with the defense, though, because the defense is definitely different. It's definitely improved. Gus Bradley's a very good defensive mind. I guess the question going forward, because what he's going to run. You know what the defense is going to give it to. He's going to run a whole lot of cover 3. I guess it gets predictable. But they got talent out there. The pass rush looks good. Solomon Thomas stepped up. Max Crosby's an absolute beast, but we already knew that. And they were kind of beat up. Yeah, I wasn't expecting the Steelers to be without Devin Bush and Joe Hayden. I mean, major losses. TJ Watt ends up getting hurt in this game. So major losses, but the Raiders are, and that did affect things, but the Raiders were missing players too, don't forget. Derek Carr with a little bit of a scare there at one point too, but he's okay. That guy's playing out of his mind. The first half against the Ravens wasn't good from Derek Carr. It wasn't good, then all of a sudden something happened. How he's reading defenses, some throws, some dimes he's making. That throw to Henry Ruggs, insane. I think he's getting a lot of credit for it. Everyone realizes it's insane, but I think if it's like a couple other different quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, that it seems to be the young guys. Everyone loves the young guys, so it is what it is. But if it's one of the other younger quarterbacks that did that, everyone would be shitting their pants right now. And I think there are people, so I'm not saying he deserves, or I'm not saying he's not getting any credit, but maybe he deserved a little more. That throw was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Henry Ruggs made the catch, thank God. I would have lost my mind. I think the fan base would have, because we need more from Ruggs. So, but you see the burners, the speed he's got on him. So that was big. Going against a tough defense here. Here's the big thing, what people won't talk about. I always try to find things that are kind of like hidden there a little bit. What I'm impressed with most, the Raiders, and it's a bad thing, but then it turns into a good thing. Raiders had no run game, non-existent. Josh Jacobs was out. Okay, Peyton Barber lead them rushing. Run game was non-existent. That's obviously not good. You play a very good defense, though. Well-coached defense, very good defense. They're missing some guys, so the run game gets taken out of the game when you want to run the ball. Defense, it's a great defense. They know what's coming. You're going to pass the ball, and you are still pretty damn effective for what the defense is on the other side, passing the ball. It is so hard for quarterbacks to play when teams know when defense no longer becomes a guessing game. He's passing. We're just going to straight up rush him. We don't need to worry about blitzing and missing out on the run, things like that. And Derek Carr's still balling out. And they're still effective in the passing game. Receivers stepping up. That is hard to do. So that is where I would actually like to give most of the credit there for the Raiders. You would like the run game to be better. Definitely give them a pass. Played a very good defense. Now they may see him again. They'll play good defense. But Josh Jacobs was out as well. Some injuries to the offensive line, of course. But that'll be, I guess, present, unfortunately. But yeah, how to overcome that and still win against great defense. That's pretty damn impressive. Daniel Carlson's a heck of a kicker. I wish my Vikings had a kicker like that. They did, actually. They had Daniel Carlson. They drafted him and then cut him. So that's a little bit of a dagger, but I'm glad to see he's playing well after a rough start to his career. Again, the Raiders defense looking good. Steelers, yeah, you start to worry about the offense. It's kind of like week 1, they beat the Bills, and it's like, was the Steelers better than we thought on paper? And because we did worry about, pass protection maybe. And now week 2, things kind of settle down, and it kind of seems like the pre-season predictions for the Steelers. You start to question, is it because 90% of the times, team maybe more than that, teams don't look like that what they actually will be from week 1. I think that week 1 pretty straight, plain and simple. Defensive game plan was different than they normally do, but really threw off the Bills. I think that's why they won. And the Bills had a special teams mistake. This week, I'm not going to judge them on their defense. Again, they stopped the run and they put the Raiders in pass situations where it no longer becomes a guessing game. They got to play better in those situations. You can't give up the bombs. But they were missing too many key guys. I'm not worried about the defense. Defense can be very good. It wasn't that great in this game. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. Offense, pass protection, kind of what we expect it to be. Not good. Big Ben kind of trying to throw some awkward plays that he really can't do at the point of his career. Awkward passes, I should say. Threw one up for grabs at one point. Not getting away with that. And then Najee Harris looked good. Deontay Johnson goes down late, ends up not being that major. That didn't affect this game, though. So you just worry about the Steelers' offense. The defense needs to play out of its mind, and on top of that, it needs to have that game plan surprise that they had against the Bills. So 2 things, kind of what it feels like right now, kind of needs to happen. So it's not the best look for the Steelers. They were nowhere near full strength, though, so keep that in mind. Raiders looking good. Will it happen in the second half of the year? They always look like sure thing playoffs. Derek Carr's look like an MVP or close, and then second half, complete, downhill, and they choke it away. If it happens again, I'm just predicting it every year. From Raiders fans, might as well not watch the prediction videos because you know what I'm predicting every year. If it happens again, it feels different right now, and I almost feel like I may regret saying that, but it feels different. Atmosphere. Again, the defense much improved. Derek Carr's playing out of his mind right now, folks. It's insane. Saints and Panthers. Panthers really, to me, every game is must-win game, so it sounds ridiculous, but, it's a division game. You want to make sure you win the division games at home as well. Week 2, starting off 2-0, must-win game. Panthers go out there and win it. Hell of a game for them. Not even close of a game. We're going to start with this one. Panthers, yeah, I did kind of, think that the collection of the Panthers' weapons, which I believed in heading into the season, could be a problem for the Saints missing guys, and they kind of were here. Obviously, they're able to work the field, work. Sam Darnold playing for Sam Darnold. He's playing good. He still had that Sam Darnold mistake that kind of, the Saints get back in the game here. They end up doing it because of the Panthers' defense. I'll get into the Panthers' defense. So Sam Darnold continue to play this way. How will it be when people kind of game plan for the small ball? That's where you still kind of wonder, but he's doing his job right now, getting it done. The weapons are showing up big time. So you did think with the Saints missing their guys on defense, it could be a problem. I'm actually not going to put this on the Saints defense, though. They were constantly on the field. They started to buckle down a little bit. Peyton Turner had to step up. I thought he had a pretty damn good game for a rookie. That was kind of a raw prospect and had to step up for Marcus Davenport. Mario Davis, of course, was all over the field. Other than that, yeah, guys definitely could have played better, but they were constantly on the field, put in bad situations. It was tough. It's a tough offense to stop in week 2 as well. I think this game is on the Saints offense and that Panthers defense. I am impressed with the Panthers defense. I love this defense. Again, 2 weeks. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I love this defense. It is a bunch of young studs flying around in the football. I mean, the Saints' offensive line is one of the best in football. They didn't have Eric McCoy, but it's still one of the best in football. That doesn't drop them down a whole lot. And the Panthers, they were getting pressure like crazy. I mean, you guys know I love Brian Burns. Morgan Fox looks like a good pickup. Hassan Reddick has been lights out through 2 weeks. I mean, they're getting so much pressure, but you look at the teams that, okay, they get pressure. Secondary looks better because of that. They're more sided this, or they're better in the secondary. Who will get most of the credit? I love the pressure. I love the front. Looks great. But I think they're very solid on every level right now, and I love that. J.C. Horn gets his first interception in his career. Every level, they look very sound. They look like they're flying around on the field. It's a very tough defense to kind of call plays against and game plan for. Like, you don't know what they're giving you. They're disguising some things very well. They were sneaky good last year, I thought, at times, but they're almost different than last year in a way where it's kind of throwing teams up. I love this defense. I'm impressed with this defense. I'm buying into it. It just will. They have the playmakers on offense, but will the offense continue to be consistent down the stretch when defense actually have a game plan for? I think I said it in the first. I'll have to find the clip. The preseason power rankings. I did say I could see the Panthers starting 3-0 because this offense is going to be very tough to game plan early on, and I kind of question, will it be down the stretch? So it's still kind of, Darnold still has to prove some things to me. But I'm impressed with the defense, love the defense. So the Saints, they're missing legitimate excuse. They're missing key players. They're missing a lot, the coaching situation, the COVID situation. So you can't really say that was the full Saints there. But there are some major things you worry about because most of the injuries, the guys out were definitely on defense. The offense, I don't know if there's I guess how the season has gone for them with the COVID situation as well, I guess it definitely could play a factor. But the offense shouldn't be that bad. I don't know. Jameis Winston looked like old Jameis Winston, just throwing the ball up for grabs, making wrong decisions when under pressure. They couldn't even get key players going, guys like Kamara, because of it, because they didn't really know what to do on offense. You're stumped by the Panthers defense. Not ideal. It makes you wonder, was that one of those week one, did they lie to us? Was it fluke? It's not really fair to say because it's a well-coached team that bounces back, and they're missing coaches and they're missing key guys. But again, not really on offense besides Eric McCoy. So you do worry about, in the back of our minds, you rightfully so, you worry about the offense a little bit at least, and you worry about Jameis Winston. And it was odd that the offensive line allowed that much. I don't really worry about the offensive line because it's Saints offensive line. So maybe that's not fair just because what it's done in the past. But I don't know. But it wasn't good in this game. It was not good. So there are some things to question and worry about. But like we couldn't label them being that great in week one, I don't think we can label them being this bad after week two. So I think that's kind of my takeaway from that. But again, there's things in the back of your mind that you worry about, for sure. Rightfully so. So Panthers, God, I love that defense. I love the way it's playing. Hopefully they can keep it up. Broncos, Jags, another one of those games, not a whole lot of action. Didn't, catch as much of this game as the other ones because of that. But the Jaguars started off with a touchdown. They started off, Trevor Lawrence was that's my takeaway from that. Beautiful ball from Trevor Lawrence. Touchdown looks good for Trevor Lawrence. Right away, what I thought about in my head, what I questioned, can this coaching staff and team overcome or play better off the script? That was a script right there. I questioned it, and that ended up being, I was right to question. I think a lot of us did, so it wasn't really hard to figure out. As soon as the script is gone, there's a lot of teams like that. As soon as the script is gone, what do you got? The Jags got nothing. They can't call plays in situational plays. They can't call, their run when they should pass when they should run. They abandon the run game. The run game is actually working. James Robinson had a pretty good average. You're getting yourself out of the game. And Trevor Lawrence didn't really, that first touchdown pass was great. He didn't play too well. I actually thought he played worse in this game than last game. 3 interceptions last game, 2 in this one. I thought he played worse in this game. Why? One reason that'll split it up. I actually thought he had open receivers in this game. Playing against a good Broncos defense. Surprisingly, the Broncos didn't pressure him as much. I thought the tackles did a pretty good job of the Jaguars. Surprisingly, the Broncos didn't pressure him a lot. So that, and Lawrence just wasn't seeing open guys. Not a whole lot. I put most of the blame on the situational play calling for sure. How's the coaching staff off of the script? Not good. We learned that again. But I thought this game was worse for Lawrence than last for those reasons. Lawrence sucks, nowhere near that, so he's going to be fine, but it's not pretty right now. It's not pretty. Again, surprisingly, the offensive line held it down. Broncos really didn't get the pressure that we're used to, and they still held it down. The Broncos still played their game. Javonte Williams ran pretty well. They split carries, and he ran much better than Melvin Gordon. So I guess just find out who's working and kind of go with that guy. They kind of had control of this game, so I'm not really worried. I had a feeling Cortland Sutton was going to go off in this game. I had a feeling, against this type of defense for sure. And then Judy's out, of course, and he did. Sutton was a monster. I'm a big Cortland Sutton guy. And Bridgewater looked good, looked lights out. Making some big plays when he needs to, escaping the pressure when he needs to. It wasn't he looked great. He did look great. It wasn't anything like, wow, okay, the Broncos offense is ridiculous. They played the Jaguars defense, but they made the right plays at the right time. They didn't really have any problem with this game. The script got in a beautiful throw, got the Jaguars 7. So did anybody worry at that point? I wasn't really worried. And the Broncos took care of business there. Patrick Surtain had to step up, and we expected him to be a solid corner out there. He was. They could, to nitpick, they could use a little more pressure, I guess. You expect them to get a little more pressure, but Broncos sitting at 2-0, looking good. Teddy Bridgewater decision, looking pretty good right now. Vikings Cardinals. The Vikings just find the ways to lose. They just continue to do that. It's a classic Vikings loss once again. The Cardinals. My takes on the Cardinals, last week the defense looked really good. You kind of wondered. I didn't expect the defense to be that good in week 1. People, starting to call them elite. You just see that it's the week 1, overreaction there. They go up a lot in this game. Both defenses did. It was kind of a fun back and forth offensive game. But, yeah, the Cardinals defense, you do worry about the secondary a little bit. Kind of came back down to earth a little bit. What more I expected at least. I still like the pass rush. Chandler Jones, very solid. Surprisingly, though, the Vikings offensive line actually played, for that offensive line, they played a pretty solid game. Not expected, Cousins had a phenomenal game as well. He was escaping pressure very well. It seems like he's added that to his game somehow in his 30s. I guess quarterback prime seems to be somewhere in the 30s compared to, I guess the younger guys are getting going early. But, so that was impressive. Kyler Murray continues to roll. And here's, everyone says, did you see that Kyler Murray throw? Kyler Murray, that's where they point out to. I look at it a different way. I think I always look at things different ways, I guess. How do I put this? I'm trying to think how to put this. He creates the separation for the receivers. That is what I love. That is what is insane. The receivers got to go out there and do their job, and they're a good receiver group. They're getting the separation. At the end of the day, they're getting open, they're catching the ball, they're scoring on these big plays. But Kyler Murray with his legs in and out of the pocket is the guy creating the separation. It's almost like he is playing receiver and getting the separation too, because he is buying so much time. He makes I like how he doesn't do it by the book too. I love that. Everyone's so. You got to cross your feet over, do this. You got to take this amount of steps here. They try to get the quarterbacks in the rhythm. Like, it's almost like get it in their mind. You got to step up in the pocket and throw it in this situation. And you go east and west, to escape pressure. Murray doesn't do it by the book, and I love it. He's just like, I'm gonna get out there. There's some pressure. I see it. I see a receiver could be open if I buy some time. I see the outside the pocket is wide open. I'm just going to find the way and do it the way I do best and get outside the pocket, make a throw. So those are the things that I'm wowed with Kyler Murray. After that, he's hitting an open receiver. Again, he's creating that where he deserves the credit. He's creating that open receiver. So playing out of his mind at the top level of who's playing out of their mind the most. Talk about Derek Carr, Tom Brady. He's up there. But if I had to nitpick a little bit, he hasn't necessarily played well when when receivers are actually covered. It's up to him to kind of create that separation. That's when he makes the big play. But he honestly hasn't played necessarily well at all when guys are covered. He has like kind of 3 interceptions in those scenarios. It's only a handful of plays he's actually completed when guys are covered. So, and that we bring that up because down the stretch of last season, he didn't play as well. I think it was due to the injury though. So it's good to see him healthy. But when teams are able to, like the Vikings were doing, they rush straight at him, mistake, because he's faster, quicker than he's going to get outside. Teams started to kind of contain, and it still can buy time, but not as much time, and therefore the secondary kind of has the receiver covered a little better, and that kind of forces them to make tougher throws. So that is the question. definitely no doubt he's getting no doubt on him because he's getting better in every category, in my opinion. But that is the question going forward. How will defenses game plan for this? Will they, how will they be against that? Against the tougher secondaries, really, that'll be the matchup that we're looking to see. But he made the incredible plays. Fourth down, it almost seems like a 50-50 ball, but drops right in the bucket, that fourth down play, which is big. So big-time plays. Rondale Moore stepped up right before the half, before Matt Prater got a 62-yard field goal. Ridiculous. Rondale Moore stepping up, making plays. That was actually crucial in that game. Defense didn't play, as well. Nowhere near as well. I think they'll give up chunk plays, explosive plays. Vikings offensive line was creating some big holes, actually better protection than expected too, but Chandler Jones played pretty well. I wouldn't expect the week one Cardinals. It'll come up here and there, but I wouldn't expect that every week, and that was kind of my prediction before the season. But it's a good, clutch win there. Luck was definitely on their side though. With the missed extra point, missed field goal. They hit a 62-yarder. That's just a clutch kick by Prater. There was one drive with a third down. The ball was tipped around everywhere. It ended up being a huge game for the Cardinals. They ended up scoring. So that's kind of I said it for several teams last week and this week. It's kind of the good and the bad for the Cardinals. I guess it's a question. Did they play their game? Because we really don't know what their game is. In week one, it looked like an elite defense. This week, not, looked like a bad defense. I guess we don't really know their game. I think they could have, Murray 2 interceptions. So that's my point. I don't know if they played to their full potential and they still won the game. They still look great on offense. I love the system, love the big time plays, the explosive plays, which is taking over the NFL, the speed, which is taking over the NFL. That's kind of like the bad turns into a good there. For the Vikings, they consistently lose games like this where they outplayed the Cardinals majority of this game. I think everyone's in agreement. Some fluky things kind of went against them. But, but Kirk Cousins played well. The offensive line actually played well. Dalvin Cook ran all over him. Madison was running well. And they got their third receiver, KJ Osborne, even going off. They got 2 interceptions on Kyler Murray. Defense needs to tighten up a little bit, though. It wasn't good. Maybe some adjustments because it's a whole new defense. Wishful thinking, maybe. But all that being said, you go out there and win that game. You're supposed to go out there and win the game, and they did enough to win the game. They put themselves in a position, 37-yard field goal. Classic Vikings. He misses the field goal. I do rip the staff a little because 41 seconds left, first down. Run another play to get closer to make it a guarantee field goal because it was kind of in and then out. If that was a 30-yard field, 34-yard field goal, it's probably in. So you do knock them there, especially with the amount of time left. I'm sure the excuse is, you don't want a guy to fumble or whatever. But by saying that, you kind of don't trust your key players. I'm talking about key players. I'm talking about Dalvin Cook. If you don't trust Dalvin Cook getting the ball, you got Alexander Madison, you got C.J. Ham. You're throwing all over him. Kirk Cousins is playing safe and good football. You got top-tier receivers. You get my point. If you don't trust these guys, and on top of that, if you don't trust these guys and you trust a kicker you got off the street who missed an extra point in this game more, when you consistently lose games off last-second field goals, we got a problem. So that's my big problem there. With that, at the end of the day, you do expect a professional kicker to make a 37-yard field goal. So sure. So you can argue that, I'm not going to argue too much if you say that side of the things. Like I'm not going to blame Zimmer, guys should make a 37. I'm not really going to argue with you too much. There's things they could have done different, but it comes a time where the Vikings have lost these games with this load of, they have talent. Everyone knows the games they should win. The way they lose them, it is consistently happening in this era. It's at the point where it's definitely one too many, and when that happens over and over again, I think it's probably getting to the time of change. And do I say they need to fire Zimmer and staff this second? They don't necessarily, it might be deserving. It's not going to really do them anything to do it now. I think this is it. This has got to be the last rodeo here. It's kind of enough. Even if you put it more on the kicker, enough is enough with this. They've lost these games too many times, more than anybody out there that I can think of, the ways that they have lost them. So, and the defense got to be better. I know Zimmer's old school defense isn't really built to handle Kyler Murray. So it wasn't really a surprise. I don't think I labeled the Vikings defense from this game in week 2 But it's not good. It's not good right now. It should be a lot better. So Zimmer's defensive guy, if he wants to keep his job, first off, the defense got to be a lot better. So that's my point there. So Cardinals are 2-0. Looking like they're going to be 3-0. That's a really good start. Can they continue that on? Can't wait to see what they got for us. Falcons and Buccaneers. Yeah, Buccaneers kind of just pulling away in this game from the start, looking lights out. Tom Brady's playing out of his mind, looking like the MVP that he is. Gronk's out of his mind, too. It's weird seeing him getting going early in season. It's kind of like, last year was like, just have him block a little bit here and there. Let's save him for the playoffs. Monster right now. Evans with a monster game. Everybody really. I'm always about to lose my voice in these videos. Too much ranting. Falcons kind of came back. They did. They came back in this game. Cordell Patterson was a factor. Is that their best running back? Weird to think about. It might be. There was a portion in this game where Matt Ryan really, I was hyped on Matt Ryan. If you follow us on Twitter, I was a huge Matt Ryan guy, because I was kind of in my mind, back in my mind, kind of like, all right, Matt Ryan's starting to go down. It's a new era. You need a guy that can escape pressure, and the Falcons are allowing a lot of pressure. He's not good in terms of escapability, escaping pressure at all. And all of a sudden, he adjusted a little bit where he took the snap. Before the snap, I'm going to get pressured, and I'm going to make the best play against pressure. That's what he did, and he was rolling, and he was running, too. He was starting to move. It's like he adjusted his game on the fly under pressure. So I applaud Matt Ryan there. It didn't last a whole lot. It didn't last super long, so that's kind of and I don't put, pressure, tip ball. Mike Edwards got 2 pick sixes, stud, playmaker, and that guy was just kind of a lockdown, box, strong safety type guy in college. So, and they kind of use him that way. And he's coming more of a playmaker in that role, so I love to see that. He's in that perfect spot from where he was in Kentucky. The exact valuation I had on him, it's like kind of that fits so perfectly here. The last one they called a corner / Mike Edwards blitz, whatever you want to call Mike Edwards, because he's kind of playing a little bit all over the place. Carlton Davis, I think it was, and Edwards, who's a strong safety. That blitz and that forced that. So adjustments made because the Falcons started to get some offense, so we see what they're doing different. It's beautiful adjustments by Todd Bowles. And the more I think about it, because the Falcons are starting to adjust to you. They're starting to adjust off the pressure because you're getting constant pressure, and they calling these blitzes and creating these plays. Beautiful job. Tom Brady just picking apart the defense. The Falcon defense still a work in progress. Dante Fowler had a big-time play, strip sack. That was kind of big. Kind of disappeared after that. It's just a work in progress with the Falcons. The tough part about the Falcons is where are they at? Where are they at? They got all these top-tier talented, like, win-now players, but this is really a win-now team, new staff. The defense is still very much a work in progress. The offensive line is terrible. I kind of worried about it, and people question me worrying about it. It is worse than I thought. I should have worried about it more. It's bad. It's real bad. Matt Ryan is pressured in, and I'm talking about every drop back. It's ridiculous. So I don't know where this team's at. They got some stud playmakers. Pitt's picking it up, really making some ridiculous play. Again, I love the way Matt Ryan was playing, adjusting his game at one point. Just not enough versus the Bucs. So it's tough to figure out where this team's at going forward here. It's tough. 48 points is too much. That's for sure. Bucs are the Bucs. Tom Brady's Tom Brady. Gronk, guys like that, it's just what it is with the Buccaneers. So it's definitely a team that we'll see late into the postseason for sure. So it's a fun team to watch. Cowboys and Chargers, weird game. I was not really expecting this, honestly, in terms of this much defense. But, man, my worries about the Chargers last week were in my questions, and they weren't predictions. I wasn't predicting to have my questions in the offseason. And then my issues with the Chargers last week, they all kind of showed up again in this game, and that is, well, in the offseason, I kind of wondered, they switched coaching staffs. Herbert was way ahead of schedule last year. They had the perfect system for him, and I actually liked the play calling the staff last year. I guess in crucial situations, maybe the fourth downs, third downs, maybe some bad play calls. It was more of the decision-making from that coaching staff. Some very poor decision-making, handling of timeouts, special teams decisions, the coaching staff in general. They deserve to get fired off that, so don't get me wrong. They deserve to get fired. But how they develop Herbert like that, the system, the playbook, and again, for majority of games, I thought the play calling was good. I could be alone on that, but I'm firm on that. I'm firm. Just crucial situations, like I said. Well, not good. And you wondered, I questioned, I didn't doubt it. I didn't predict anything off it. I predict them to be okay, and they very well can be okay. It's only 2 weeks. But you kind of questioned, you wondered, you had that big question going into the season that how is this going to happen? Will switching a coaching staff really, slow down this offense because it worked so perfectly last year? Again, the system, the playbook was great, and it's kind of showing early. It's only 2 weeks. It could be a learning process. I'm sure they'll get over this at some point. So I'm not really saying they're doomed. They messed up or nothing like that. But you wonder a little bit there. And then what I questioned them last week was their lack of execution in the red zone. They could have won. Like I said, they outplayed Washington last week. It ended up being a close game. They could have lost. They really could have beat their ass. They really should have, honestly. They couldn't execute in the red zone. And there was some drops, and I was kind of saying they probably get back to normal, especially playing the Cowboys defense. And it was the exact same thing. They could not execute in the red zone. Exact same thing. So now you wonder, you're not for sure saying or predicting, but you wonder, is this a thing? Is this a thing for the Chargers? Is this going to be a common thing? Herbert makes some unbelievable jaw-dropping plays. I love the way he's playing overall. He does make some bad plays as well, though, bad interceptions. It's weird to think that I think the Chargers actually need a receiver pretty bad. They have good, talented receivers, but they don't have that specific guy. They kind of need that. Keenan Allen's somewhat of that guy, but they kind of need that shifty, quicker, young, underneath guy that can play in a slot, play outside, just get instant separation. Mainly underneath the intermediate routes. They need that guy pretty bad. They got Keenan Allen's kind of that guy. He's not as explosive fast. He's just kind of all off technique. He fell down on an interception too. I still put it on Herbert. Kind of double coverage, off target, even if Keenan Allen did fall down. But overall, not a good situation. They need somebody else. Keenan Allen's the number one. He's a beast. But they need somebody else, and the other guys can play. Guyton, Palmer, these guys, downfield guys. And they had Tyrone Johnson, but maybe they regret getting rid of him. But he's the same receiver as those guys. Maybe they miss his speed. Maybe that's what it is. They miss his speed, but I'm more thinking of a quickness guy. Actually, they need that. There was some bad calls in this game that kind of hurt the Chargers. Was that a illegal formation? Illegal formation. It was so late. It was so late. I hate the late calls. And then they called Herbert. They said he was sacked. And they kind of implemented that new rule last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was. And they actually been somewhat consistent calling that. My problem is they didn't decide that right away in that. I don't know. Maybe I missed the whistle. So the refs did really hurt the Chargers in that red zone trip. But I'm not saying the Chargers lost because of the refs. I'm not going to be saying that. They didn't execute. That's what it was. Execution's a big problem right now. Defensively, they held the explosive Cowboys offense to 20 points. They couldn't stop the run for shit, though. I'm not going to give them a pass, but I'm almost there. Basically, I don't expect it to happen a lot. The Cowboys did a great job throwing off the Chargers. You expect them to pass. They're throwing out these runs in there. Pollard's in the game. They don't run Pollard a lot, right? That's kind of the game plan. Cowboys did a great job throwing them off, but the Chargers stopped the run at a very poor level. The Cowboys, I should say, end up controlling the clock with this as well. Kind of, not allow the offense. That kind of affects the offense, kind of getting their groove, sitting on the sideline sometimes. Tony Pollard went off. And poor Zeke, too, because everyone kind of ripping Zeke because they're saying Pollard's better, and Pollard does look better right now, so I'm not against that. But Zeke ran well. He had a pretty good game, so poor Zeke there. But Pollard looks like a beast, and we were saying that last year. This guy was a receiver. Another one of those Memphis receiver turned running back. We knew from a mile away this guy just felt like a natural running back, and he's getting going. He's good. There's going to be a lot of talking. Big talking point when the day that the Cowboys extend to give Tony Pollard some money. So there's going to be a lot of talking about what's him versus Zeke. Look at the contract. That day's going to come. Tony Pollard could play. Good thing with the Cowboys, Dak really didn't play his game. He played well enough to win. He didn't really play his Dak Prescott game like we saw last week against the Super Bowl champions. And they won the game. They won the game against we think is a tough team. So overall, I think that's really good. Both teams missing their right tackles right in that game. How about Micah Parsons? That's the other thing. Cowboys missing DeMarcus Lawrence. He went down during the week in practice. They're missing big-time guys there, and they win the game. They go win a tough game on the road here. Zerline hits that clutch kick at the end. I honestly, to be honest, I was expecting to miss it. Micah Parsons played out of his mind. I see why he was the best defensive player in the draft. The guy is so versatile. He's just a natural big-time player. He got so much good pressure on Justin Herbert there. Big-time piece of this game. Trevon Diggs is a stud. I was extremely high on him, so I'm pumped. Huge Trevon Diggs guy. He's playing out of his mind. Back-to-back games. He's definitely one for the future. Got to be the best corner from that class, I think. The Chargers really just not executing. That's what it is. They're not really executing well. Joey Bosa, same old story. Joey Bosa, it's kind of what I've been talking about for some time. And people, I don't know if really people really agree with me, but Joey Bosa is the best defensive end in football off the line, beating the tackle. That's where it ends, though. He gets pressure every time, but he cannot get the sacks. Fackrell gets put on his ass one play, and then just with his pure speed and athleticism, more quickness, that's what Bosa's missing, because he's athletic, powerful for speed for a powerful guy, but the quickness and lateral movement is the difference. In Fackrell, again, he gets put on his ass one play, but then go get the big sack, because of his athleticism, quickness. Bosa's just beating his guy every time, and he just can't get the quarterback down. It just continues to be a common theme where pressure becomes overrated as well. It's a prime example. I mean, this guy could be the best of all time. It's almost at that point, but he just can't finish. Overall, I guess the theme is execution, finishing for the Chargers here. So you start to question, you start to wonder, what's with this offense? And you look back at Washington, and at least the excuse was Washington has maybe the best defensive football, and that might be wrong. You look what the Giants did to them. So you start to wonder, you start to worry a little bit. I think it'll be fixed at one point, maybe wishful thinking, but a lot of questions moving forward here for the Chargers. It's a big-time win for the Cowboys. Defense is on the right path, that is for sure. Hopefully. Titans and Seahawks, wild game, overtime, 33-30 win for the Tennessee Titans. Titans, it's a clutch comeback, kind of get back to playing Titans football there at the end. It's good to see. They were very, very sloppy last week, and that's the thing. That carried over in this game. They were pretty sloppy in this game. This is a bad loss for the Seattle Seahawks. Losing the home opener is part of it, but not even close to it. It's almost one of those games where you'd rather just get blown out right off the bat. Maybe I'm different than everyone else. But, I mean, this game, your home opener, you start off pretty well, but the Titans are kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Taylor Lewan gets hurt in warm-ups. Roger Saffold went down at one point in this game. Tannehill still getting strip sacked, which is weird because it kept happening last week as well. Putting the Seahawks in prime position. A.J. Brown is dropping some weird-ass balls that he should not be dropping. Julio Jones gets a touchdown pass that was a touchdown, gets called back. Everything, and this is why it looks bad on the Seahawks. Everything is going the Seahawks' way. Everything, not debatable. Everything. You have the lead, a pretty big lead. What else was there? I mean, everything is going their way, and they lost this game. They actually lost this game. You do not lose this game. No business losing this game. And the Titans, even when the Titans were losing, the way they were moving the ball, I kind of felt like they'd come back because they're moving the ball well enough to be beating the Seahawks right now. That was kind of the feeling. So what does that tell me? The Seahawks, everything went their way and they lost this game. I mean, it's not a prediction for the end of the year, even though, it could be an accurate one, but it's not a prediction for the end of the year. Right now, plain and simple, the Titans are just a lot better team than the Seahawks. For them to be off their game, sloppy, things aren't going their way, touchdown taken away, missed field goal, everything. And they still come back, win the game. They're just plain and simple better, even on their bad day. And the Seahawks, things are going their way there. Even the Seahawks scores were just disaster, broken coverages. You would think the Titans would fix that at some point. It's only week 2, so I guess that's the positive there. Maybe they fixed that. Lockett's an animal right now, and Russell Wilson hitting him. Russell Wilson not playing bad at all. He's hitting the throws, holding on the ball too long. He tends to do that sometimes. See that on what was debatable, could have been a safety in overtime. And they stopped the Titans. Defense played good there, and they got the ball back. Defense didn't play good on the start of the season, the game though. So it's just an odd one for the Seahawks. It's just the way the game shaped to end up being. You don't lose that game. You just can't. You can't lose. You can't. No matter who you are, you're the Jaguars, you're the Lions. I don't know. You don't lose that game, So that's not good. It's not a good look for the Seahawks. Luckily, it's only week 2. But Titans look more like themselves after they got going. Derrick Henry feels like he kind of took a little bit to get going, and he got going at some point in this game and just went off in the second half. And I predicted the Titans win for these things. I didn't think some sloppiness actually carried over, but I didn't think that, Derrick Henry gets shut down. And I didn't think Julio Jones would have a bad game again. He had a monster game, actually, and they took a touchdown away from him. So that was more like the Titans. Defense, you still worry about it a little bit, but they clutched up at the end. They were getting these quick 3-and-out stops to give their offense a chance. I love the Denico Autry signing. He had a monster game. Bud Dupree won't show up in the stat sheet. That's the type of guy he is. He creates for his teammates. What I talked about offseason after the Titans signed him, I thought he did that again, especially in crucial moments. Titans need to get Caleb Farley back in there, or for the first time, actually, I should say. Jayon Brown was out too, so they need to get healthy as well. So that's a momentum change of the Titans, and more like Titans football at the end there. To me that's a bad loss for the Seahawks. That's that'll hit you in the Goat House power rankings coming Tuesday. Chiefs and Ravens, a wild game. The Ravens pull it off. Something they have not been able to do is beat the Chiefs because it's such a poor matchup. They go out there and beat the Chiefs while they're depleted with injuries. And they go out and beat the Chiefs. Pure offense, no defense. I will say the defense of the Ravens stepped up and clutched up. Not the last drive, but a couple before the last drive. Anthony Averett made a big-time man coverage stop on Tyreek Hill. That was huge. Some people on Twitter saying PI. If that's PI, we might as well not put defenders out there. Some little bit of hands, a little handsy, little bit. It's not PI. You're not going to call that PI. It's great coverage. And then on the last drive, we thought, okay, the Chiefs are going to win the game. Odafe, I got used to Odafe. I call him Jason Oweh all draft season. Oweh, who I liked pre-draft too, was a big fan. People were like, "Oh, he didn't have any sacks." You can't just look at the stats. A lot of upside, and that makes this even crazier because the guy's a pure upside guy, and he's making more of an impact than maybe any edge rush rookie out there, unless you consider Mike Parsons. I mean, monster game. Wasn't really a edge rush guy, though, going to the draft. We knew he could be. But Oweh is playing very, very good football, making impact plays. He ended up being Joe Thuney, who was on him a guard on that fumble. Edwards-Helaire's got to hang on to that ball. That situation, you obviously can't fumble the ball. Got to have ball security. That Oweh's not supposed to be there that early. He just got the handoff. He's just trying to get to the hole. He's not supposed to be there that early. It shows why athleticism is so damn good. Way too athletic and fast for Joe Thuney there. And not only to be in the backfield that early, which you rarely see on runs like that, to punch the ball out, and it's not like lucky, he punched that ball out. He knew what he was doing. And to cover the fumble, ridiculous. And he made more plays than just that as well. So he's looking like a monster. That's looking like a good pickup there. And all the injuries, Elliott got hurt during the game too. Ravens defense stepping up when it mattered. It wasn't a good defensive game though, obviously. You still worry about the defense going forward. Chiefs defense I worry about more. It's just bad right now. Tyrann Mathieu got a pick 6. He had another pick. They still couldn't win the game. And usually when that happens, it's because really the offense turned the ball over at the end there. But the offense did enough. They scored points. You know what the Ravens are getting you. They couldn't really throw the ball. You know what they're giving you, and you just can't stop the run. You just can't stop it. And there's just they need a defensive end so bad. They need, specifically an athletic one. They need one so bad. Chris Jones' project at defensive end's not ideal. He's a dominant elite defensive tackle. Frank Clark really isn't playing good ball. They need somebody on the defensive end. But really no one else is stepping up and helping, either. I guess you don't really worry about the pass defense. The defense is struggling. I picked the Chiefs to win a Super Bowl, but if they go and win the Super Bowl, the defense must have improved big time. I know if they're going to win, it's because of offense, and that offense is that good, best in football, I still think. But if they go and win a Super Bowl, it's because the defense improved big time, insane amount. Because the way the defense is playing now, it's very early, so it could change. It can improve for sure. The way it's playing right now, it's not even close to helping the Chiefs get to this, maybe even make the Super Bowl. So things got to change there. The Chiefs played their game on offense. They fumbled. Mahomes, I guess, had a bad interception. They played their game, though, on offense. Mahomes had an insane throw early on. They played. I could sit here and talk about what Mahomes usually does, Travis Kelce usually does. it's the same things. The offense did the job to win the game. It's just a poor defensive outing. Ravens clutched up. They could not stop Lamar. They had to go for it on that fourth down. I tweeted that, am I crazy if I would go for this? I actually didn't think they were going to go for it, but they definitely should have, and they did. And the right call. The Chiefs couldn't stop it all game. Couldn't stop it all game. So that's a big win for the Ravens. It actually kind of turned around where it felt like for the Ravens' current situation where they're all offense, defense really isn't there. They want another offensive team where it's just a shootout. That's kind of almost like the right matchup for them. So how will they be against, teams like the Raiders, teams that are more balanced, teams that will present more defense? You still question it a little bit, mainly because they're injuries, legitimate excuse. So there are some things you still question a little bit, but they stepped up. And the young guys are stepping up, and they could continue to improve. So if they get them balling like the typical Ravens defense, that'll be something there. But again, they clutched up. That's just the storyline. They clutched up. They made the big time plays. They executed in the right moments. That's kind of the storyline this week. Which teams executed in the right big moments? Which teams didn't? That's just a big win. They didn't want them to start 0-2. The Chiefs are pretty close to being 0-2. They'll take a hit in the power rankings as well because they aren't playing their best football. I mean, they're playing well offensively, I guess, but they're not playing their best football right now. Defense it looks like the worst in football right now, and they need another defensive end. You would actually be surprised what one player could do. I don't know if they can go and just get that player though, but you'd be surprised at what it could do, for them. So that's a tough outing for them. Just something the Ravens will need. Depleted defense, primetime football against the Chiefs. You just haven't been able to beat the Chiefs when fully healthy, and you go out and beat them. It's pretty insane. It's just a major win, momentum win. Like the Titans, Titans come back, momentum win going forward. Ravens they're trailing the whole game, come back, execute at the end. Big win, big momentum win going forward. So it's absolutely huge, absolutely huge. That's it for this video. Monday night Lions Packers. We'll be covering on Twitter. We'll be covering on Twitter all the way through like we do with every single game. We're almost at 10K on Twitter, so help us out. We're gonna get some more content rolling at 10K. We'll get some more things going there. Link down below. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on for these weekly videos. I'll be much appreciated if you can help us out there. Thanks for watching. That's gonna do it. Goodbye.